Hi, everyone. Welcome to the show. I'm JJFLIZANES, your host, and thank you for downloading today's episode. We're going to talk about using amino acids to regulate blood sugar. And I have with me today Björn Öste. He's a very accomplished businessman. He's an industrial engineer, and he's the CEO and co-founder of Good Idea, Inc. He also co-founded Oatly, the Swedish oat drink company, with skyrocketing sales in the U.S. market. After working more than 20 years with sales, marketing, and strategy development in the software business, Björn did a successful exit and started a new career as a serial entrepreneur. Björn believes strongly in the potential of smart foods, both as a means of changing people's lives in a healthy direction and as a way of building a successful business. In addition to Oatly and Good Idea, Inc., he is today involved in a number of promising smart food ventures through his partly owned Swedish food and biotech company, Aventure AB. One of the things we didn't talk about in this episode that didn't get mentioned that I want you to keep in mind is that if you are interested by the end in ordering any of the Good Idea drinks, which I would recommend that you do, you can get 30% off your first purchase to try any Good Idea product on Amazon using the code #30 JJFLIZANES, and that's all in caps. And I haven't tried it yet because I still have 2 cases left, although we talked about a third flavor that I don't have and I'd like to try, so I will be trying that as well. So 30% off your first purchase of any Good Idea product on Amazon. Use the code #30 JJFLIZANES, all in caps. I hope you enjoyed today's show. Welcome to the show, Björn.
JJ, it's great to be here.
This is a long time coming. You and I've crossed paths for a while in different ways and in different reasons. And one of the things that I want to talk about today with you, as the title of the show would indicate, is blood sugar management. Definitely on a health concern, that is something that everyone's pretty focused on through whether it be a low carb diet, a low sugar diet, sugar replacements, being sugar free. It's a hot topic. And I know what you have to offer us is something that doesn't even need any of those conversations.
Yeah.
I mean, it does and it doesn't, but having an alternative to managing your blood sugar is really important. And, but you and I met because of my pursuit of creating a product in the food space, and one of your first products being Oatly. So for those of you that are dairy-free or vegan, Björn is part of the team that created Oatly. Oatly is a oat-based milk. It is vegan. There are several different products in the line, like Barista, like a chocolate, and a Barista thicker one that you can use. And then there's an organic, and then there's a low fat. So it's a great, great product. It's one of my favorite actually milk substitutions making coffee because it's so thick and frothy and delicious. It's delicious. So
Thank you.
You're welcome. So let's start with how you even got into all of this foodstuffs and being concerned about blood sugar management and dairy-free milks. What's the story?
Yeah. Yes, it's a very logical, simple evolution. It started with me building a company in computer security. And as everybody would realize and agree with, when you've done computer security for a while, it's very logical to move on to oat milk-based products. It's really what happened, and it was in some sense an epiphany for me when I one day realized that computer security was not necessarily the coolest thing on the planet. And that was when I walked into a food show in London where my brother, who's a professor in food chemistry, had just launched his first attempt to make milk from oats. And when you have people at the trade floor come in and eat your product, or in this case, drink it, in the software industry, we learned earlier that when people found something in your software that they didn't like, you could always say, oh, we'll take care of that in the next release, or we have, that's a bug we're fixing. It doesn't quite work that way in the food industry, right? It's sort of like an immediate, either they like it or not. You can't come back and say, oh, we'll fix that bug later. Anyway, so I did a stint in the software industry, was fortunate enough to build a company that we managed to sell with and generate some income that I then could start to invest. And as I indicated, my brother, a professor of food chemistry, was playing around with the alternatives to milk. When he was a young student, his professor at that time discovered lactointolerance, and first to describe what that was. It wasn't understood up until the late 1960s, early 1970s, that some people, adults, could drink milk and most adults could not. But now we knew. So academically, he was intrigued and grew up in an academic environment where there were a lot of issues with milk that they tried to fix. And so in the mid-90s, he actually filed the first patents on making a product from oats. And I, at that point, looking for new ventures, thought this was a really interesting thing. How it's clear that you could help bring health and well-being to a lot of people, and you could bring quality of life to families with, for example, children that had milk protein allergies, and which is a pretty nasty problem for quality of life wise, right? You have to separate your cooking pans, and you can't mix. You basically have to exclude all dairy products from your kitchen. And maybe you have a family of 4 and only one is allergic, right? And it affects the whole household. So that's where it started. Like, here's a cool, better product. And what intrigued me, I think, was very early that this product, it was so good, it tasted great, and it was just a fascinating thing. But we were in Sweden that has, I think, top 10 in the world when it comes to dairy consumption, and one of the lowest prevalences of lactose intolerance on the planet. So not quite a fertile ground for a non-dairy product, right? Which, as a marketeer, is of course an excellent challenge. If you can make it there, you can make it anywhere kind of attitude, right? So focus on taste, on usability was very important. We did some trials. We didn't quite know what to do, but in 2001 we decided to go all in on a consumer brand and launched Oatly. And we launched with ice creams and creams and milks already from the get-go. And today, Oatly in Europe has, I think, probably about 80 different products. We feel, half the dairy case in most supermarkets now are full of Oatly products in all different ranges, from sour creams to yogurts, to creamers, to milks, flavored milks, ready-to-go drinks, etc., etc., etc. So what you've seen in the US so far is just a very small part of what we can actually offer. And I think consumers in this country should be prepared for a lot of cool new products from Oatly soon.
I'm ready. I'm like, what? You have all these other things? I'm the connoisseur of all of this. I'm the first time I see something new, I'm trying it and assessing it and sharing it. So please, I want to be one of the first to get one of these packages, and we can even video it on the show.
Absolutely. Well, there will be something new coming, and it will start in your neighborhood down in LA this summer. And I won't tell any more than that, because I'm not allowed to, but we can leave it at that for now. But it'll be exciting, it'll be good, it'll be great, it'll be fun. So I think what's key here to talk, lead into the health aspects and what I'm doing today is that, so my brother, professor, food chemistry, really good at working in groups and attracting other scientists. And although oat milk at the surface may look like a very simple product in some sense, right? It's just oats and water, the core ingredients, and then and it behaves like a milk and looks like a milk and whatnot. But to get there was actually quite a engineering feat, with pulling in experts in all kinds of disciplines, enzymatic processing, proteins, even we had some medical experts, because one of the key defining features of Oatly from day one was to maintain the oats' natural ability to lower cholesterol, the LDL, the bad cholesterol. And Oatly is in fact extremely potent and good at lowering cholesterol. And it has even been proven in a number of clinical studies that we conducted very early on. So we built a science team around the product here that not only sort of food scientists, but medical expertise. And over the years, we've expanded on that R&D capability. In the mid 2000s, we took the whole R&D group out of Oatly and built a separate organization that my brother and I still maintain and control today. It's a company called Aventure, and in there we invent stuff. And it's all sort of related, of course, to our core expertise, which is enzymatic processing of oats ultimately, but it has led to a bunch of other stuff. And oats, there are many exciting health properties inherently coming with oats. Blood sugar regulation is a very exciting area where we're doing a lot of research. There are other areas. There are a lot of compounds within the oats that have really exciting opportunities that we're studying, or antioxidants, you name it, right? The lipids, really interesting stuff. So a lot to dig deeper into. And of course, when you work with that, at times you come up with things that may not necessarily include oats, and then you end up in the situation, well, it's related to our processing knowledge, our medical health property expertise, but what do we do with it? And one of those inventions that originated out of a research team of Lund University called the Anti-Diabetic Food Center, where they were looking at food and diabetes and the issues there. One of those inventions from this particular group was the discovery of the effects of certain amino acids in a certain mix, and how they help trigger what the experts would call an early insulin release. And the notion that amino acids in liquid form are extremely rapidly absorbed by the body. So rapid absorption trigger early insulin release. That's really helpful when you eat carbs, and when the carbs lead to an increase in blood sugar, blood glucose. If you've primed your system, you get a much faster processing of it. And this led to something that we felt that was a really good idea to provide a product that do something like that. And last year we actually launched a product called just that, Good Idea, here in the US. It's a sparkling flavored water with amino acids and actually chromium as well. And those combine to give you a fantastic blood sugar curve with your meal, a much lower spike uptake of blood sugar, a quick uptake of blood sugar. If you have a quick blood take of blood sugar, which is caused by carbohydrates like sugars, you always will get a quick crash too, and the crash will make you feel tired and result in sugar cravings. We all know how you feel at 1 o'clock after lunch, right?
It depends on what you eat.
Yeah.
If you're having carbohydrates, then yes, you're going to feel sleepy. And if you're not, and you're having high fat and high protein, or low protein and high fat, you're probably going to feel full till dinner or beyond. So
it's absolutely true. It comes back to what you eat and having a good diet. There are multiple ways of managing your blood sugar, and it's important that we manage our blood sugar, because if you have a poor diet with a quick blood sugar raise uptakes and followed by crashes, if you keep repeating that over and over and over again, the science is very clear that this leads to it'll start wearing out your system, and it leads to inflammations that in turn start knocking out essential functions in your body, such as making the insulin, reducing the insulin effectiveness that leads to diabetes. Obesity is attributed to this, to high blood pressure, etc. All what we call a metabolic syndrome, triggered by these inflammations caused by high blood sugar levels and continued high levels of insulin. So this all resulted in us coming up with a good idea, and decided that it's such a good idea that we need to launch it as a separate product. Everybody should really drink it with all their meals. If you are not diligent enough and eat very healthy, unfortunately, most people don't, and it's really hard. We want to provide I wouldn't say an easy fix, but a segue to help you break your vicious circle of quick races and crashes if you can break that circle, you can actually start wean yourself off your sugar dependency. And that's where we want to be part of the equation and provide that tool to broader masses by providing a sugar-free, unsweetened, lightly flavored water that you can drink with anything you eat.
I've had the product. I like the product. I know it comes in 2 flavors. I think it's a mango and a lime. Am I correct in that?
We actually have 3 flavors today. We also launched dragon fruit, very popular. And we expect to have even more flavors coming out later in the year. The point is to have a water, and there are many products out there in the market today, sparkling flavored waters, right? What we want to give you is a product that pairs very well with food. And so lemon lime is traditional. When I grew up back in Europe, we always squeezed lime or lemon in the water when we had it with our food. Works really well with fish dishes, whatnot, and so we don't want to overpower your palate with strong flavors. So lightly flavored, lightly sparkling, but have a natural sweetness from the flavor from the fruits and berries.
Well, and of course, we're not talking about replacing a regular seltzer water. Yours has chromium and amino acids in it to help with insulin response and blood sugar response. So it's not a even exchange from, let's say, the sparkling water you get at Trader Joe's, or even adding your own fruit to water. The point of the good idea, right, the drink, is that what is also included, like you said, helps absorption of insulin. So it's a health drink to help maintain blood sugar and to regulate blood sugar and to reduce the effects of insulin on your body if you're eating a high sugar, high carb meal. And so I want to go back, though, to how I know you said that you worked on the enzymatic processing with Oatly, and that's how you came upon understanding how to work with the amino acids and what it would do and wanting to make another product. And I know you did a lot of trials with Oatly and the studies with the Heart Association and having proof, if you will, that it can help to lower your LDL cholesterol. Let's talk about good idea. What kind of processing? Did you do some clinical trials or at least some of your own studies? Have you followed anybody? Have you tested? Because what's really fascinating for me is to think about, what would be like numbers? Well, what would be the effect of having a good idea? And we did serve it at the Next Big Step and at Releasing What Weighs You Down with any meal that had, like, let's say, a higher carbohydrate, which weren't that many actually, because I served pretty much keto and paleo meals, but I wanted to offer it for the cookies, the vegan gluten-free cookies at the end, and for the tortilla, the gluten-free corn tortilla that came with the vegan tacos that we did for one of the afternoons. So tell us a little bit about sort of not necessarily the proof, but what can you expect? What can you shoot for? Because I also don't want people to, while it's a product that everyone would benefit from using if they're eating carbohydrates and sugar, I also just like, let's say diet foods, or back in the day when we thought fat-free was a good thing, but people ate more of it, right? So it's not like, okay, this is your excuse to now eat poorly because it's going to help regulate blood sugar. Like, what are your studies or your recommendations on using it and about carbohydrates?
Great, thank you. Good question. Yes, so one of our founding philosophies, if you like, is that we will never make claims that we can't substantiate. So with Oatly, we did clinical studies and we published them, and we have other products and companies we've founded where the clinical part of the development is extremely essential. In the case of Good Idea, we've done to date 9 clinical studies. One of the first was published, and now we're doing a meta study where we're combining the research from a number of in-house and external studies too that we expect to publish soon. But we've done 9 to date, and most of them in-house, but we've also done here in North America, we did a fairly large study that we outsourced to what we call a CRO, a third party that'll conduct the study. So we didn't have our fingers in it and couldn't affect it. And in this American study, it was what's called a multi-center study done in 2 different locations, in Florida and in London, Ontario, in Canada, as it were. And it was a double-blind, placebo-controlled, fully randomized study. So this is just to say that the people that are actually administrating the study on the subjects that come in, they don't know which product is what. And it's a placebo-controlled. We give every individual have to eat a very specific meal, and they come in twice. And with that meal, they drink a beverage. They don't know what it is. And ultimately, you compare the results. And what we prove in that is that the average reduction of blood sugar from a given well-defined meal, which is a traditional meal, average meal with protein, fat, and carbohydrates in it, the blood sugar reduction is between 25 and 30%, which is pretty significant. Significant enough to make you avoid the afternoon slump, right, and help you avoid the sugar cravings. And I'd say we've seen, so what you do is you drink the product with your meal, right? And then anytime you eat, really, if you are concerned about being a pre-diabetic, for example, and want to avoid diabetes, you should drink it every day, ideally. If you can't, like you, JJ, suggest, eat a very healthy diet that wouldn't give you any blood sugar spikes anyway. We have diabetics that we never done any clinical work on diabetics, but we have a lot of diabetics that come back to us anecdotally and refer how this helps them, of course, with their blood sugar management, which we're happy to hear, right? But again, we wouldn't recommend any diabetic to try anything, or absolutely not stop with their medication or anything of that nature. They should really consult their physicians. But that's what we hear. We were just down in Austin at the Paleo FX conference, where keto and paleo coaches from all over the planet converge, and others too, for that matter. The whole biohacking area is a very fascinating field, I think, where people are looking at supplements and technology to improve their health. I love the expression biohacking. Makes me think of hacking IKEA furniture for some reason, but that's a very different thing.
Very.
But in essence, take what's there and be smart about it and customize it, adopt it to your personal needs, and use the latest technologies. And in that crowd, we are extremely well received, right? Keto coaches recommend good idea with the keto diet as well as with paleo to really help manage and optimize your blood sugar level at all times.
I'm very interested in, I've done keto not for an extended period of time, but for a short period of time. And I did have the testing strips, but I want to move on to the breathalyzer, and I'd love to do a study just to find out what my own carbohydrate sensitivity is, like where's a good range for me. I think that's a good and valuable thing for people to know. And then I think having something like Good Idea as something to have on hand. So of course, well, in the keto and paleo community, though, are focused on reducing carbohydrates just in general. So while it's great to have a supplement, and this really is what this is, I mean, the Good Idea drink is a supplement, so to speak, because you're helping to quickly, like you said, reabsorb insulin, so it's in your bloodstream, and we're managing blood sugar. And insulin is a very damaging, very aging hormone when you have too much of it flowing through your system. So blood sugar management is so critical and has been linked to so many things in terms of health. And it probably is one of the most important things we have to look at, if nothing else, if people aren't. And I haven't done a lot of conversation on this show about blood sugar management directly, because it's come through talking about the gut-brain connection, about paleo diets, about keto diets, things like that. So we haven't really talked about it in depth. So maybe we'll do a whole show just on blood sugar management. But like you said, it is through diet is really like the first way to manage something like that. Because if you're not eating it, you don't need to manage it. But then if you are, because like you said, it is, lots of people would prefer. And even if you are, I mean, I won't do keto 100% forever. And I'm paleo, but from time to time I have a corn tortilla, and from time to time I have
You gotta live, right?
absolutely. And it's nice to know that there's something in my refrigerator that I can go grab and have with a meal like that, and just make sure that I'm doing the best for my body that I
Yeah.
can when it comes to blood sugar management. So
And I think, doing the best for your body, I think there's a very simple old school truth that everything in moderation is okay. It's okay to go and have candy. It's totally okay to have a sugary ice cream at times, right? Given that live an otherwise healthy diet. It's not that we should ban everything that's good, right? And that people like. It's just moderation and be smart about it. And not necessarily overindulge, right? It was really interesting at the paleo conference in Austin. I was sitting in on one of the panel debates where 5 people representing 5 very different diets. We talk vegan, we talk paleo, keto, and carnivore diet. Interesting to hear the debate between a vegan and a carnivore, right? And I don't remember now. There were 5 people, very knowledgeable, but after 1 hour's debate, pros and cons for everything, one thing stood out that everybody could agree around, and that is that continued high blood sugar levels, that what that means is that will result in a high insulin level. And high insulin levels, you mentioned insulin as a threat and a bad thing, right? I mean, insulin is essential for our survival, so it's a good thing. Ultimately, insulin is a good guy, but we're screwing up with our system, so we make the insulin lose its potency, and that's what triggers the body to produce more of it, and more and more and more and more and more again, and then we end up having very high insulin levels, and that's when that good guy becomes a bad guy and triggers Alzheimer, triggers all kinds of degenerative diseases and problems. So that's the perspective we need to have here. We need to balance our blood sugar in order to avoid the body producing too much insulin, because too much of anything good is bad. Too much ice cream is bad. A little ice cream is really good, and I would never stop eating that, right?
right, but I'm going to recommend Oatly ice cream because
Yeah.
I would prefer that people not be having dairy ice cream. Have the non-dairy ice cream.
Yeah, that's a different conversation. I agree with you fully. You have to fly to Europe for that now, though, and that would cause a lot of carbon dioxide emissions, I guess, if you just flew for that reason. But
Well, I need to go get some truffle salt in Italy anyway, so just direct me, and I'll make my food trip because can I get good idea over there, because when I go to Italy again, I will be having some carbohydrates.
yeah. I'll
So
send some with you.
okay, good, because there are times that, especially like when you're in Italy, there'll be things that I'll eat that aren't normal. Although when I was there last time, I realized I could have been gluten-free. There were plenty of places that offered gluten-free pasta. I thought, okay, well, I guess it's possible. Now, I don't know about the dairy-free part, but because there's so much milk and there's so much, I didn't
Yeah.
see a lot of dairy-free options, but I would
Well,
love.
Oatly is pretty prevalent in Europe. It's number 2 in Europe in non-dairy today. It's much bigger there than it is in the US at this point. But so you can find you'll be safe. Yeah, it's going to Italy and eating gluten-free pasta is kind of, well, when you come to paradise and can't eat these forbidden fruits, right?
Well, you just accept the consequences. I knew I'd be puffy for 2 weeks when I got back. I came back and returned right back to my normal diet and habits. So I'm agreeing with you that we want to live, but there are also things that we can do to help the effects of some of the things that we eat that we decide are worth it, even though there may be some negative effects. And I'm a believer of that here too. Like you
Right.
mentioned, the enzymatic processing. I mean, enzymes in general, I think we don't use enough enzymes to help our own digestion normally here. And that between that and some probiotics would be a great way for people to prepare their gut to help them break down their foods, to help them absorb their foods. And
you know what the most important thing is? It's dietary fiber. I firm believer that, I mean, microbiota, yes, we need more microbes in our gut, but it's not necessarily eating more microbes that's important. It's actually feeding the ones and creating an environment in your belly that allows the healthy microbes grow. And science is very clear on this. It was just actually, I think it was in Lancet, our big Harvard study was just published where they looked at the food that causes most death in the US population today. Number one culprit of causing death because we eat too much of it or eat it the wrong way. Do you know what that is?
It's not sugar.
It's not sugar, it's salt.
Mm.
And the number two reason from a diet perspective of why we die because of malnutrition or whatever is that we do not get enough dietary fiber.
I believe it.
So they actually come before sugar. I think that's very interesting. And this is a very large study that looked long-term over a large population. I don't have the details, so I shouldn't reference more than what I just said, but it's really interesting, the conclusion, right? Dietary fiber is essential. And as it happens, sounds like I'm saying this to plug for Oatly, but obviously products like Oatly are full of dietary fibers. And that's part of why they're, I think, gaining in popularity.
Okay, well, quit teasing us here in the US. I mean, this podcast is heard all over the world, but so those of you lucky people in Europe who can get all of the Oatly products, yeah, don't rub it in my face. Although they get mad at me. They get mad at me here when I put stuff on Instagram from Costco that they don't have access to. So let's switch back to Good Idea. You have 3 flavors now. I've not had the dragon fruit. Very interested in tasting that. But where can people get it?
We are, the easiest way to get it for anyone that listens now is to go to Amazon or our website, goodideadrinks.com. Or, as I said, Amazon. We sell a lot through Amazon. Just Google Good Idea Drinks. Otherwise, we are in 500 supermarkets in the US right now. We actually not launched in Europe, unlike Oatly, where we started in Europe. With Good Idea, we actually started in the US. But you can buy us in, if you're in Texas, you can go to the Central Market. It's an excellent chain of fantastic supermarkets down there. We are on shelf with Hy-Vee. If you're in the Midwest, 250 Hy-Vee stores. We are on shelf with Fresh Thyme, also in the Midwest. We have a lot of customers in the Midwest, and I think there's a natural reason for that.
You think? There's a lot of corn eaters, a lot of wheat and corn eaters in the Midwest.
A lot of carbs being consumed there, yeah. And I think there's also, we did some market studies, people in the Midwest, unlike maybe what people think here in California, but they understand their issues with blood sugar more than anyone else. And I guess they keep hearing it more than most of us from there.
Well, there might be more diabetics is why.
Yeah,
so I mean,
that exactly right. That is exactly right. So we have, as I said, a bunch of independent health food stores as well. California, Utah, Midwest. We are unfortunately not on shelf in the Eastern US yet, but it will happen.
Great. Okay, so I would recommend everyone go to Amazon and type in Good Idea and get yourself some Good Idea. I prefer it chilled. I know you can probably drink it not being chilled, but I like it chilled. And I do like both of the flavors that I've tried so far, and keep a lookout for that, because I definitely think to have some on hand for everybody for when you do have that high starchy carbohydrate meal, you at least know that you're doing something good for your body to protect it from having too much insulin flowing through your system. Like you said, yes, insulin is a hormone and all of our hormones have a function. The problem is that we, like you said, just like with adrenal fatigue, adrenal glands are there to help us survive. The problem is we all live as if we're going to die all the time. So we are constantly pumping adrenaline into our systems unnecessarily. And then we have adrenal fatigue and can't re-up and reformulate and balance our hormones because of our stress levels. So same thing with the sugar and the insulin. Yes, it definitely has a point, but we also came from cavemen that didn't eat bread like we do, and pasta and carbohydrates at the same rate, and sugar and processed sugar. So it's just a great balance that everyone would benefit from, grabbing a case of it and having it on hand. So that way, and it tastes good. So, I mean, if you drink seltzer water already with fruit in it or any kind of fruit flavored anything, switching it out won't be a big deal. And at least this is a supplement and a health food that actually has a benefit versus just tasting good and replacing something with sugar in it. So any last comments or recommendations, Bjorn?
Oh, I can go on forever, but just to what you just said here, I mean, our hope is, of course, that people that today drink sodas will switch to our product. That would be a tremendous improvement. First of all, you don't get the 25 plus 28, 30 grams of sugar that you have in the soda in the first place, and then, of course, it will make the whole meal infinitely more healthy for you. So hopefully, with our fruit flavors, we see now a lot of children, in particular, teenage girls, seems to love our product. They switch gladly over from sodas. So I'd love to see more of that. Stop the sugar soda drinking and switch to Good Idea.
Excellent. Well, I will make sure that your link is not only in the show notes, but I'll say it also at the top of the show again. So you can't buy it directly from your company though, right?
You can buy from our website too. Yes, www.goodideadrinks.com. We have a shop there.
Perfect. Great. There's another product that I found recently that I'm in love with, and it's not a drink, and I can't get it. They're only wholesalers, and so I can't get it from them. And all of the stores on their website that say they carry it do not carry it right now. So I'm freaking out. So I'm so glad that you sell it direct to customer. Amazon's great, especially if you're buying other things, but otherwise go to goodideadrinks.com. Again, that's goodideadrinks.com. Bjorn, thank you so much for coming on the show. Thank you so much for introducing me to the product and for creating it and for creating Oatly. You are definitely onto some really awesome, wonderful products that I think most people would really love and would get benefit from trying and consuming on a regular basis. So thank you so much.
Thank you, JJ. It's a pleasure to be on the show with you. Thank you so much.